Hey everyone, welcome back into Hey Hannah. I'm your host, Hannah Ostapchuk-Kraus. I feel like I don't even need to introduce myself anymore at this point, but we're here. I already did it, so let's go. It is a beautiful day in the Midwest, in Wisconsin right now. I said this last episode, but I am counting down the days for daylight savings. I really cannot wait. You guys mark your calendars. It is a few days away. It is March 8th, just so you know. That's when we all lose an hour. And everyone's going to lose their minds because we lose an hour. And I'm over here declaring that that is actually the best day of the year. It should be the biggest and baddest national holiday. Like Christmas, Schmissmas. It should be about daylight savings because that's the day we feel like, hallelujah, we made it. We made it through winter. We can rejoice and get ready for barbecue season and running and jumping into a lake and all the things. Now, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but that one extra hour of daylight actually does save me, which is why it's called daylight savings. You know, it's saving the people from a deep, dark depression at 5 p.m. every day. We're done with it. We're over it. I know all my Northeasterners, like all my friends in New York, my brothers in Rhode Island, they have been going through it this winter. And I live in Wisconsin, so I feel like I could say that I, too, have gone through winter, you know? I've also been pregnant for what feels like 4 years. And for that, I feel like we just deserve one extra hour of sunlight. So I can't wait. This weekend is upon us. So yes, get ready to lose an hour, but to gain a lot of happiness, really. How is everyone doing today? I'm coming to you guys at 37 weeks, almost 38 weeks when you're listening to this. It should be just about 38 weeks, which is crazy. Again, I've talked about this before, but let me just repeat myself when I say that my mom loves to remind me that she gave birth to me and my brothers all 2 weeks early, which means, you guys, I could be giving birth this week. No clue if that's actually going to happen. Everyone has a different process and everyone has a different story. I've actually dug a bit of a hole by asking so many people. Like the minute I meet a woman, I'm like, hey, do you have kids? Have you given birth? What's it like? Do you get an epidural? What process do you know that you're actually having contractions? Did your kids come on time? Did you eat something before you went to the hospital? Like my questions have come in lump sum. Now I'm to the point where I'm like a little bit like, okay, Hannah, stop asking people so much because ignorance is bliss. I'm enjoying this time where I don't know when she's coming. I mean, it could be this upcoming week. It could be 3 weeks from now. She could be a week late. So all I know is that she's got to get out. The time is soon. Even recording this, I'm like, I feel so 9 months pregnant. Like my face feels so puffy, whatever. I mean, it is what it is, right? At this point, there's really nothing I could do. I keep meaning to like set up the episode before I just dive into my stupid daily life updates. I want to tell you guys what today's episode is going to be about, and I'm hoping to make it a quick one. Let's see how long I can ramble. But I wanted to talk to you guys about why I think nothing is ever wrong with you in the dating world. I'm saying this because after talking to some of my single friends just about their lives this week, this was something that popped into my head and that I feel like I'm pushing onto my female friends right now, that there is nothing that they're doing wrong in the dating world. And I want to get into this a little bit because I feel like it's so easy to go on dates. You get a text from a guy and he says, you know, this is great, but da-da-da-da-da, I don't really see it working out romantically, whatever he says. And then you can't help but be like, oh, your antenna goes up a little bit because you think, did I do something wrong? And immediately you're going down the record files of every conversation you had on the date. You know, did I say this? Was it because I said that? Da-da-da-da-da. And then eventually you like forget about it and you move on to another date. And I just think it's so important to remember that there is literally nothing wrong with you and that there's nothing you need to change. Without diving into this too much, I think as women, it's very easy for us to immediately think, okay, how can I improve and what can I work on, or what should I change a little bit, or maybe I shouldn't be as silly, or I shouldn't be as opinionated, or whatever the heck it is. when I fully, fully believe I'm the biggest champion of this. There is nothing, absolutely not one thing you need to change about yourself from one date to the next. But I'm going to get into that. Okay. But before we dive into today's main subject, catching you guys up on life a little. Yes. Okay. I'm still pregnant. I'm still here. If I suddenly stop bringing you guys episodes, you know the eagle has landed. That means that I need a little bit of a breather. I need a little bit of a break. My mom is coming into town next week, and I'm so excited for her to be here. A, because I need her to like see my little setup of all of my baby stuff and to grade me on it and make sure I have everything I need. B, it's like this weird thing of my mom and I have such a special bond, and to know that I'm bringing a daughter into this family, to know that I'm about to give birth to a daughter, my firstborn, my mom's first grandchild, I'm just like, I could cry if I think about it long enough. I'm so hormonal, so I can't. I have to move on. But it makes me so emotional because it makes me so happy, you know? It's like this vision of myself that I have craved for so many years that I never really. There was a time in my life where I felt like I was just like, well, maybe I'll never have kids. Who knows? You know, even though I really wanted it, even though it was like a huge part of everything I prayed for. So it's that thing again. I said this about my wedding. It's like I have to remind myself all of the extra stuff, the registry, the 5 must need things that you have to have after giving birth and postpartum. And it's all a bunch of crap. Every single thing about giving birth, I have to remind myself, is just an answered prayer, you know? And everything else is fluff, and I'll figure it out. But I said that same thing about my wedding. My therapist actually gave me that line. Like, she was like, remember that everything, all the wedding stuff can get really noisy. People have opinions about who's wearing what and what colors. It's like ridiculous. Wedding stuff we know could get a little crazy, but there was a phase where I just had to remind myself walking down the aisle is walking and answer prayers. So everything else doesn't matter, you know? So I'm having to tell myself the same thing about giving birth. The truth is that I'm actually terrified to do this. I'm like, can I do this? And I keep saying this. I've said this to my closest friends here. I can only remind myself that the dumbest people I know have given birth successfully, which means I can do it. You know, I don't have to be smart. I don't have to be capable. I literally just have to go. And nature will do its course. It will work out. I don't know why I'm saying that phrase, but for some reason it brings me so much peace. Like the worst people I know, like think of the person that bothers you the most. Like you just never want to run into them at the grocery store. Maybe you don't even know them. Maybe it's a person who's a public figure who you're just like, ugh. Think about the fact that they have children. And then it's like, oh, okay, I guess I could do it too. You know, if they could do it, I could do it. So yes, I will be sitting there thinking about the biggest moron I know, and that will bring me peace. I've been having a really hard time sleeping. Everyone said this was going to happen, and I was really convinced that I missed the boat for this because my sleep was great, and it just plummeted horrendously. I now am wishy-washy between the hours of like 1 to 6 a.m. Like I just really don't know what's going to happen anytime in those hours. Inevitably, I'm waking up 95 times to pee because of course I am. And getting up off the bed is like trying to bend a Tootsie Roll. That's what I keep saying. That's what it feels like. I just feel like this big log that I'm trying to bend to get up. So poor Peter is waking up a lot as well because he hears me try to get in and out of bed. I'm like, ooh, I'm making all these weird noises. Nevertheless, you just got to lay there and like wait it out. The one thing that I actually think has helped me, and I believe Peter was the one to tell me to do this, so kudos to him. Something about regulating blood sugar, I don't understand it. But before bed, I've been having half a banana with just a few scoops of peanut butter on it. Like I've just been standing there and eating, measuring with the heart on the peanut butter, certainly not measuring anything. And it actually helps me to not wake up as frequently in the middle of the night. And if I do wake up, there's a large chance I can actually fall back asleep now, which is great ever since I started the banana and peanut butter thing. So if you're listening and you've had any trouble waking up at like around 3, 4 a.m. and you can't go back to sleep or you're just wired, try the half the banana peanut butter thing. I don't know what it is, but it worked. Maybe it's placebo. Maybe it's just because I said it and I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. And who doesn't love to eat banana and peanut butter? Please. I'll eat it any time of the day. God, I'm out of breath for literally no reason. That's another thing. Working out has been really difficult. I've been trying to give myself more grace when it comes to working out these days because I am not doing it as much. I'm not going as hard in the paint at all whatsoever. I am going to this class called a High Rocks class. I'm still new to the High Rocks space. I don't know if you guys have High Rocks near you. The thing I can compare it most to, it's like somewhere in between CrossFit and F45. It's like CrossFit because you ultimately compete. I'm not competing, but the classes train you for these competitions. Whereas E5, I think, is sort of the style of the workout. Everyone splits up and they do these different activities and it's all timed and it's really cool. And I've never been a huge class goer, but in pregnancy, I've learned that I need someone to push me because if not, I will truly find a reason to sit there. Like I have no interest in finishing a workout these days. So yeah, I'm giving grace to myself. Where my family is in South Florida, High Rocks isn't a huge deal yet. So if you guys have it near you, let me know. I'm so curious. It's a really big deal in the Midwest. A lot of people do the High Rocks competitions here. And so I'm just, dabbling into this. I'm just taking the classes. I'm not actually signed up to compete in High Rocks, nor do I think I will do that anytime soon, but it could be somewhere in my distant future. Okay, quickly, let's dive into my TV talk because you guys know I love to talk about this. First things first, Traitors finale was just flawless. I mean, chef's kiss. That was one of those episodes where I had it on and it was like the age-old thing of Peter was like, "Oh, you're going to watch this? Oh my gosh." And then like 5 minutes into it, he's asking me questions. He's like, "Wait, did they just win together? Da-da-da-da-da-da?" I'm just going to spoil it, so telling you this now, if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and skip ahead. But it was such a satisfying ending. Rob, you knew he was going to win. He always needed to win. He deserved to win. He played the game the best. Maura's face at the end was just picture perfect. I mean, I know she wants to go into acting and all of that. This was a fantastic intro into that world because I feel like she would really kill it. She's so beautiful and she looked great. And she really thought Rob was going to have her back. Well, I mean, what a shame to watch that go down. That was really tough. I have to say, she handled it like a champ. She, at first, was so shocked and, she was like sort of paralyzed. She just stood there and didn't do anything. And then suddenly you could see the tables turn and she was like, "Wow, good for you, Rob." And I thought she handled it really well. Peter and I both said that. Like, we were like, "Wow, good for her." She made it positive and wasn't so like, "What was me?" And I like how Rob was like, "Would you give $100,000 to someone you met 3 weeks ago?" I totally agree with him. Fair point. Eric seemed really upset, but like, duh, he did the exact same thing to Lisa and to Candace. So you were going to get the boot, bro. You were always going to get the boot. But yeah, really great show. I haven't watched the reunion yet. I just saw Andy Cohen standing there with overalls and I was like, oh my Lanta. But I want to see it. I really love Lisa Rinna and I want to hear more from her and her entire departure because I feel like she was done a little dirty when exiting the show originally. Finally watched a little bit of the America's Next Top Model documentary. Everyone has been talking about this. I had to watch it and I'm not even quite done with it yet. I just have to say, if you grew up watching America's Next Top Model, it's not news that the show was insane. I think in that time, we all knew this was so damaging, but it was just sort of the times, like the early 2000s, everybody talked like that. So it didn't even like click onto you like, oh, this is really bad until of course everyone started rewatching it. The documentary is fascinating. I grew up watching America's Next Top Model. I think I was like 13 when it was on, like probably even younger. It didn't register to you at that time that like, oh, this is bad or this is weird because everything was bad and everything was weird if you're looking at it from the lens that you look at things from today, right? If you look at it from the lens of being in like 2001 when it came out, it doesn't even click that this was inappropriate or way out of line. Because everything was, really. I'll never forget Janice Dickinson telling women who were already so skinny that she could see a little bit of their fat on their bellies, like, ugh. But it was just that era. Everyone spoke like that. So my one takeaway was like, yes, it was awful, the things that happened on that show, but also looking at it through the lens of today, of course it looks really bad. Like everything does. That's my first thought about that documentary. My second thought was that I just have a really hard time watching Tyra Banks because I felt like she was so like, and I don't mean this to be mean, but she was almost like performing in the way that she was speaking. She was speaking like this and everything had a dramatic pause, like everything was like theater. It was the same way she spoke when she hosted Dancing with the Stars, which I don't even think everyone loved her hosting Dancing with the Stars, but it almost worked because it was like the drama of that show. Whereas with this, I'm like, okay, you can't always talk with the drama. Like, just tell us that the show was a weird time, or like tell us why you decided to do the certain things that you did. Like, just talk normally. But I so badly was like wanting to shake her and be like, can you just be normal? Like, talk like a normal person. Everything she said, you could tell she was just on. Like, she knew what she was going to say. She knew how she was going to say it. And she was like poised in her delivery, but not in a way that came off relatable or unfortunately likable. But yeah, I was just sort of begging her to be normal, and I don't think I'm going to get it. But I'm only like 2 episodes in, and those are just my biggest takeaways. I'm still watching Paradise on Hulu. Peter and I have to catch up on that show. One of my favorites of the season, but obviously my favorite TV is reality TV. It unfortunately has always been the case. Now that Traitors is over, I'm going to have to find a little bit more reality TV in my life. So we'll see what comes up. I know The Bachelorette comes out at the end of the month, and I'm back on the bandwagon. I'm going to watch it, but we'll see what else comes out. I was actually thinking of getting into Survivor. Has anyone watched Survivor here? It's a show that I haven't watched since it first came out, but I feel like it would be a fun thing to get into when I'm nap trapped and like need something to focus on. I once asked people what they watch when they're on the treadmill and they're killing time, and so many people came back saying they watch Survivor, and it sort of piqued my interest. Now that the 50th season is coming out, I'm like, okay, maybe I could get into that show again. So yeah, if you guys have any reality TV suggestions or any television suggestions for me in general, let me know. I feel like I need something new coming up soon. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the main topic I wanted to talk about today. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep this one quick today. I want to talk about that feeling you get when a relationship doesn't work out, or you go on a few dates and it comes to an end, whether it's via text or they ghost you. God forbid, I hope not. It's the worst ever. But something happens where you just know it's not working out. And then you do that thing where you recount what happened and you try to figure out how you can improve it or what you can do differently. And a lot of times that means trying to improve something internally, like thinking, okay, maybe I did something wrong. It's that thing of like, if you ever got that text that was like, you're amazing, but I don't see this working out. And you immediately think in these scenarios, oh shoot, what is wrong with me? What can I improve? What did I do wrong? Like I said before, sometimes it feels like you're going through like a literal file cabinet in your brain from that conversation, thinking, oh, was it when I said this? Maybe it was when I said that. And like sometimes you can't turn it off. You don't know how to improve it. This can happen at any point in life, by the way. I feel like this exact thing happens to me all the time in social situations where I go home and I think, why did I say that to that person? Was that weird? Oh my gosh. The difference is that any social situation, nobody's going to text you and say, hey, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I don't know. They're probably not thinking about what you said that you thought was weird anyways. But when this happens on a date and you know it didn't work out, it's so hard to not internally reflect and think, oh gosh, this is something I did wrong. Like, this didn't work out, or maybe he didn't like me, she didn't like me for this reason. It's hard to not go to those immediate soft spots that we have internally for ourselves. Like, for example, I always was really insecure that I never had a boyfriend, right? So if that got brought up on a conversation and then the guy said, hey, I think you're amazing, by the way, but I don't think we would work out romantically, whatever, I would probably recount that and then sit into that one conversation and think, oh God, maybe it was because he asked me when my last serious relationship was, and I said I never had one. Like maybe that's the thing that made him, or maybe that's the thing that made him decide, no, this isn't going to work for me. Without oversharing anything, I want to talk about this because a friend of mine who's single got a text from a guy that she went on a few dates with saying, I think you're great, but I just don't see this working out, whatever, wish you well. Very normal breakup text. And I think it's standard to receive any of those texts. We've all sent them. We've all received them, right? I used to have one that I had it in my notes that I would send it to guys, which is terrible. But it's like we've all done it, right? I think you're great, but, not for me. And this isn't what I'm looking for when it comes to a partner. So I'm going to move on, whatever. And separate from my friend now, like just going into my own brainwaves about this, it's really hard to not internalize anything that you get in those text messages or in any breakup whatsoever, especially when you've been going on a few dates, or let's say you just experienced a breakup and then you try to go on another date and it doesn't work out. It feels like data in a way, like, oh, I need to take this and improve it. I mean, that's what we would do in the workplace, right? Like anytime at work, if we had a failure, it would be like, okay, well, what can you do to improve? We were taught this in school. This is how you should actually do like any problem solving. So it's really hard to not do that same exact formula when it comes to your personal life. Okay, this guy's saying I'm great, but clearly it's not working. So that means that there should be a new solution. And I just want to be here to say repetition does not equal truth. Like just because there have been a few people who have said, oh, you're amazing, but actually just not what I'm looking for right now, whatever, that doesn't mean that you're not amazing. Like, duh. But it also doesn't mean that there's one thing that you need to fix or tweak a little bit to perfect everything in your dating life. I so badly want to scream this from the rooftops that there is literally nothing, not one thing you need to do differently in order to get the relationship that you are hoping for or to achieve the relationship that you're hoping for. I'm a firm believer in the expression that there's a lid for every pot. So anything that you are like, oh, I want to change this, I want to work on that. Am I too silly? Am I too opinionated? Am I too serious? Maybe you love to talk about politics. Maybe you hate talking about politics. Whatever it is, like sometimes we could think, oh, I need to tweak that a little bit. Or to make matters even worse, oh my gosh, this happened to me where I had a guy once just critique me on the things that I remember this was a guy I was just like talking to, and he gave me a list of things that he thought that would make me a good partner. And I took that like a frickin' badge of honor. I was like, okay, I'm good at these things. You know what's so funny? I have no idea what they were. I don't remember them at all. But it did the opposite, where it made me think about those things and giving me the confidence like, oh yeah, I know I'm good at these things when I went on future dates. Certain things that I thought, okay, I have this in the bag, then would start to come up, of course, because then I thought, well, maybe it's this. Like nobody has ever complimented me on that. There's that thing that can happen where any person from your past can sort of bring you down in these haunting ways. And maybe they didn't mean to, or maybe they did. But either way, that thing keeps coming up to you. So if it doesn't work out with somebody, you immediately go back to that one thing. Like, oh, it's because of this, or it's because I'm divorced, or it's because whatever stupid flaw that you've created in your head, you start to believe it more and more. And I think I find this so often with my female friends, which is why I wanted to talk about this. Like when things don't work out with a partner, we immediately think like, oh, I'm too much, or I'm not enough, or I was a little too quiet, I didn't ask enough questions, or I was super chatty, I asked a crap ton of questions, or maybe he thought my order was weird. I just got a salad, maybe I'm too boring, or I'm too emotional or too sensitive. I mean, like I've heard it all because I've said it all about myself. I've thought these things about myself, or I've heard my friends say them about themselves. But the key is to not think of that like not for me text. Like when somebody tells you you're not for me in a text, in email, however way this is getting communicated, even in person, if it's like you just, you don't see this person again, it's not a character flaw. It's just an incompatibility. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I firmly believe that there's a lid for every pot. So I think that it's not a numbers game. I just want to tell all the single girls out there that like a man deciding that you're not his person, or somebody deciding that you're not his person, is not a performance review of your personality. There's nothing you need to take away from this and improve or work on. You just need to keep doing you. All it takes is one person. Like one person is just going to come in and be obsessed with those things, those qualities that you're honing in on in this moment. I remember, I don't know who said this, but I remember some celebrity talked about how her ex was like kicking her under the table because she was too loud. And then when she found her now partner, he was obsessed with how like loud and quirky she was. And it became one of the things that made him fall for her. Like that's just a silly example, but that's what I'm talking about is like, it sounds so dumb, but you shouldn't have to change any one thing about you because it's not about that. It's not like this is a problem solution thing. It's just a matter of time. And unfortunately, it's out of our control. So whenever somebody says like, oh, you were great, or you were sweet, but what they're actually saying is, I'm not ready. I don't feel long-term alignment. These are the things that most men are not communicating. I don't feel chemistry. Sometimes they do just say that. I'm looking for something different. Sometimes it's just as simple as that. And I can't even begin to get into the reasons that they were not looking for what you provided on that date because it's a them problem. And that would take 20 episodes to dive into. You know what I mean? But it, for some reason, sets off this alarm of being like universally undesirable. And that's the part I'm talking to today. I really believe this when I say it only takes one person. Like it's just a crapshoot until you find the person that you feel safe and comfortable and compatible with and you want to spend so much time with. Like it takes finding that person, and you're just going to find a bunch of duds before you do that. And these duds might try to tell you like, yeah, I don't like this about you, or this didn't work for me, or you're not what I'm looking for. And it's hard to not internalize any part of that process because you so badly want it to happen. Like you want the relationship to work out. You want something to work out so you just feel good about yourself, or you feel good about this space that you're in and the personality and the character that you gave off, you know? Who doesn't want to feel good about themselves on a date? Of course, we all want to feel good. We all want to like leave a date thinking like, oh yeah, I really, you want the person to like you. We all want to be liked and admired and loved and sought after. And when somebody says that they don't feel that way about you, it feels like a blow. There's no way for it to not feel good. Like you're just immediately like, ugh, great. What did I do wrong? It's fine tuning your reaction to it and remembering that there is literally nothing you did wrong. There is nothing you will ever do wrong on these dates. It's just a matter of this person not being the person for you at this time. So instead of saying something like, gosh, what did I do wrong? I like to think, give yourself like one day to sulk in it, a few hours to sulk in it, even if you need a few nights, a few weeks. But all it takes is like one shift, one timing alignment, one date where you feel like the energy really matched. And suddenly that one person will say that all the things that used to come up in your insecurities are the thing that they love most about you, are the thing that made them want to call you back and go on a second date. The right person is going to love that you're sensitive. They're going to love that you're ambitious. They're going to love that you're quirky, and they're going to love how you text. Like your texting communication is just going to work. What I wish I could stop from happening is that thing where after something goes south, you then go on another date and you're internalizing everything on that date because of your last one, right? Like you're thinking, oh, I think I was a little too opinionated on that date, so let me tone it down on this one. You're like softening yourself a little bit in reflection of what had just happened, shrinking your personality, if you will. Like, I feel like an American Girl book. I'm like, you need to shine your light. But that's how I feel. Like, be the kooky you that you want to be, because the right person is going to love that no matter what. And anytime somebody says like, oh, you're amazing, but just not for me, like, just try so hard to not internalize it in that moment and to remember it's a them problem, not a you problem. Not being right for that person is actually none of your business. It's their problem. And remember that you're being protected and guided. I always say this to my best girlfriends. Anytime something goes south with a guy and they're like, oh, I really wanted that to work. I mean, I said this 4,000 times about myself. Remember, you're being protected. I felt this way all the way up until meeting Peter. I was fully single at 33. There were so many moments where I had to tell myself that I was being protected from relationships that wouldn't have been good for me, or just from guys who didn't have my best interest at heart. It's really hard to not start editing yourself a little bit and editing this version of you when you go on dates. And it's also really hard to like not act cool. Like sometimes you just are like, well, how do I send a text that sounds cool? I got to a point in my 30s where I was like, I don't give a rip. I was like fully saying whatever I wanted to say because I was so emotionally over it that perfecting the like cool text didn't matter to me anymore. And sometimes we pretend we don't want a commitment, and because we're overcorrecting everything that we thought from the last one. I know sometimes it feels like I'm running out of time, I'm behind, I'm not where I want to be, and that rejection makes it feel worse, right? Like that rejection heightens that feeling. But you have to remember that dating has always been a crapshoot. There is not one good way to do it. There's not one right way to do it. It's just about finding the right person. And unfortunately, the timing is something we have no control over. It's all about an alignment of emotional availability with someone. And unfortunately, we go into these dates totally blind. We have no idea if these guys are emotionally available or not. But it's not a reflection of your worth at all. So if you're in a season where you're going on dates and you feel like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel like chosen. I don't feel appreciated or like celebrated on these dates. Like I'm just sort of going through the motions and I feel defeated. I'm here to remind you, you are not unchoosable. There's nothing about you that needs to be fixed or replaced or changed in any degree. The person that's meant for you is going to be fully obsessed with all of these things you've been sort of self-critiquing over time from these dates. And again, if you need a minute to like sulk in that feeling, of course, take the minute to sulk in the feeling, because no matter what, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to feel like, oh, great, this person isn't interested or this person doesn't want me. Even though the irony of it is like we could have not been interested in them as well. Like, but when you get the text, like when you get that message from someone, even if they didn't text you, if it's somehow been communicated that they're not interested, it feels like such a blow because of course, like I said, we want everyone to be interested in us. Like it's a flattering feeling, you know? And when someone says, you're not for me in whatever way they've communicated it, it feels like some sort of failure. But the only way I could say to overcome that is to remember that there was nothing you did wrong in the presence of this person when communicating with this person on a date with this person. There was nothing you texted that was weird. The text should never matter as much as you think they do, by the way. That's a separate topic because they really never do. Your worth is not defined by these dates. And finding someone doesn't mean fine-tuning yourself. If anything, it means becoming more like yourself and evolving more into the person that you want to be, a version of you that you want to be and that you admire. And like, no offense, but like, screw this guy. Like, it doesn't matter. His opinion of you doesn't matter whatsoever. You're never going to talk to him again or see him again. So it's sort of irrelevant. And having that attitude of like, whether this person likes me or not is irrelevant to my entire existence. I don't know if that's harsh to say, but it's sort of this like reminder that you're so powerful by yourself. And all of these little quirks and these things that make you you are these beautiful things that come together in, again, a way that someone's going to be fully obsessed with. So there's literally no point in like trying to perfect them and trying to tighten them or whatever it is. There's no improvement necessary. It just is a matter of timing alignment and knowing that nothing about you needs to be altered. Okay, I know I kept it quick today, but I really needed to get into that because it was something that was just on my mind and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And there were a lot of dates in my life where I would come home and I would recount the things I did or said that maybe were too much or too little, or maybe I wasn't hot enough. And like, you know, I always had these conversations in my head. And it's like at the end of the day, none of that matters. Like truly none of it matters. Okay. But if this is you, if you've received any of these texts, feel free to let me know. I would love to hear from you guys and hear more about how you respond to these. If you've had any of these texts where they've said that you're super great or whatever, but not for me. Always happy to hear how you guys recover from these because I think it's all a journey. And it can certainly be hard to move on with grace in these moments. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.